As if I wasn't already terrified of deepfakes enough, the realm of deepfakes is about to have some massive disruption. That's because Alibaba has been working on a brand new deepfake kind of technology. Essentially what they're doing is they're taking a picture of anyone, and then they're able to turn that into a video of that same person. And I'll show you a little video up on the screen of what this actually looks like. Essentially, they have like a stick figure, which is like the person, and they can have the stick figure doing anything. And then that translates the image essentially turns into a video of this. Now, there have been a couple other pieces of technology and softwares that have done some similar things. So this new one right now is called Animate Anyone, and it's setting some new benchmarks in the whole field, and it's essentially just the best thing. So you can contrast this to the earlier versions like Disco and Dream Pose, which were considered really cutting edge a few months ago. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app, or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
But Animate Anyone has successfully beaten all of them. Between a rough academic prototype and a creation, it's convincingly real the first time you look at it. I'm watching some of these and thinking like, oh my gosh. The other thing is obviously, even if this isn't perfect as it is, we know where the whole industry is going in the future, right? So if this is what it can do today, what will it be able to do tomorrow, etc. So I think this whole realm is going to be, rapidly advancing. It's going to be really interesting to follow along and see how this goes. So the process behind Animate Anyone and how this actually works is pretty straightforward. Obviously, the technical side is very complex, but essentially what you're doing is you're starting with a reference image. So that could be yourself or a model. And then the AI model extracts key details like your facial features, patterns, your poses. It then generates a bunch of images with these elements that are all slightly altered to simulate movement. So really, I think what they're drawing from is kind of the inspiration of video, how video works. Everyone knows video is just it's just a video is just a camera taking thousands of photos back to back, and so then you can see the movement of a video. So they're essentially doing the same thing. So you can kind of think Midjourney's image generator. It's taking a picture of you that you upload, and then it's just saying, generate this slightly different. So it's just generating all of those images with you in slightly different poses, and then you can actually start moving. Now, I think this is really kind of the key, and this is what we're going to do to make full video, AI generated video. It's going to be insanely compute intensive, I think, but it's going to be really interesting because essentially, you can pick any person and you can have them moving, doing anything. Now, this all goes along with something I have been predicting for a long time, and now anyone that listens to the podcast knows that I have AI chat. A number of months ago, I made a prediction. I was on a podcast with Jack J. McCulley. He's the co-founder of Oculus. And I was like, what's coming down the pipe is we're all going to be movie directors. We're all going to direct our own movies. You're going to go, maybe Netflix will have this embedded or someone else, Amazon Video, whatever, Amazon Prime Video. But essentially, you're going to go on, you're going to pick the actors or actresses that you like. Or, maybe in the future, you just upload pictures of yourself or your friends or whatever. You're like, I want a movie where the main character does X, Y, and Z. Maybe it can help generate a bunch of a rom-com or an action movie or whatever, right? Maybe you have a lot of, discretion in what happens, or maybe it helps generate. But essentially, you get to pick who's playing the parts. Or maybe you're going to be like, hey, I want Batman, except I want me to be Batman and I want my friend to be X, Y, and Z character in it, right? So it's going to be crazy. You're going to be able to direct your own movies, pick who's in it. And I think in a situation like this, if I was I want Robert Downey Jr. to play this role, maybe, part of my subscription that I pay to Netflix, he gets some sort of royalty for being generated in my movie. So, essentially you're getting royalties when like these movies are getting royalties when their movies are streamed, depending on their contract they have with someone like Netflix. Sometimes, they just get a license to get on the platform, but sometimes it's, pay per stream, whatever. So in any case, maybe they'll get a royalty every time I get in there. So with technology like this that we're seeing right now, Animate Anyone, I think this is just like one step closer. And I think this completely validates my theory, my hypothesis, my prediction that this is 100% coming, because we're literally able to upload an image and all of a sudden the person's moving. And beyond that, we have the technology to make that actually happen. So I think previous attempts at some similar technology had a bunch of different challenges, particularly in rendering realistic movements without creating, like making it kind of look bizarre or, hallucinating or whatever. So Animate Anyone, I think, is the best technology that has done this. It's not flawless by any means, but I think it is a massive step in the right direction. And the research team highlights an innovative kind of a middle step in their process, which enhances the model's ability to keep really consistent and realistic details throughout the generated video. So I think some of the most interesting examples of Animate Anyone's capabilities include, fashion models adopting a bunch of different poses without losing, their clothing looks flawless and perfect. The patterns look perfect, exactly how it was at the beginning. There was, a 2D animated character, which they made like a little demo and it came to life. There of course was Lionel Messi performing some basic movements that looked just like him. So I think though the technology is still, struggling with some really complex elements like eyes and hands, and it kind of falters with some poses that are like really different from the original image, I think it's pretty impressive. It's obviously a massive step. So the implications of this technology are, first off, really fascinating, right? I've done the whole like direct your own movie. That's cool. It's also a little bit creepy. So I think with just a high quality image, someone could potentially create a video of another person doing or saying almost anything. So combined with facial animation and voice capture technologies, I think the possibilities, but also the risks expand exponentially. We know with something like 11 Labs, I literally have cloned my own voice and it sounds incredibly realistic, just like me. So now we start mixing it with, video technology, and all of a sudden, like, someone could create a clone, someone will create an avatar of myself, a clone of myself, to be able to say and do anything, regardless of if I want that or not. Now, a lot of these platforms that are going to come out with this commercialized, you have things like HeyGen, for example, which is already kind of doing this with video. Now, it's more just like a talking head. So it's just like, I could probably generate this video on HeyGen and it wouldn't be quite this good because it's not flawless, but the rough idea. Now, the thing that's interesting with Animate Anyone is it's like a model that's like the full body, standing up, moving, and doing stuff, right? And so HeyGen obviously doesn't do that. But when you make a video on something like HeyGen, it makes you like record a little video statement that's like, I am the person that I'm like making this clone of, and I give my consent for them to make it. That's kind of their like security measure. At the same time, I think anyone could get around this by like maybe using an open source model to, generate a video that says that. So I don't really think this is like a bulletproof tactic in any way, shape, or form, because, and then so that's the one side of it, is like the platforms will have something like that for security. But then there's also going to be open source projects that do the same thing. So eventually people will be able to run these without people's consent and without, your company's control. And essentially there'll be unlimited deepfake capabilities on the internet. So I think, do I like this? No, it kind of creeps me out. It's kind of crazy. But I think at the same time, like, there's no way to stop it. So at the moment, we need to start thinking about like, how do we deal with this? What does the world look like? What changes do we need to make, or what are the decisions we need to make? If this was going to go forward, I think a lot of people will be like, hey, this isn't good, make it stop. And like, of course, I get the sentiment, but it's unrealistic at this point. So I think for now, the developers are really cautious on this. They're holding back on releasing the code to the public. Their GitHub page indicates there's ongoing preparations for a demo and eventual code release, although there's no specific date that they have set. But the big question that everyone is asking is what happens when the internet is inundated with, all of these so-called dance fakes, right? So, if you watch some of the videos they've made, there's like, essentially they'll take a picture of a person and they have like the little stick figure thing, like moving and doing a dance. And I think how you capture that stick figure is you have like essentially a type of camera or software that watches a person do something. So you have a person do like a dance or whatever, or maybe you find a video of a person doing a dance. It converts it to the little stick figure thing. You take the picture and then it converts that into a video of an actual person doing it, which I think is interesting. But what happens when all of this is out in the open, what kinds of shifts or changes, what kind of ethical things and responsibilities are going to be important for us to be thinking about. These are all questions we're going to be asking, but this is an incredible technology, a lot of scary sides to it, and a lot of exciting sides, on the other side of the coin. So it's going to be interesting, but I'll keep you up to date on all the advancements and anything happening with this specific technology.